What is up, you guys? This week we're talking about TMNT, the IDW Collection, Volume 5. Let's get into it. So this reprint came out a few months ago. This is just a collection of stories. Don't ask me when all these issues came out because there's like 15 issues in this collection. I'm not listing off when each of them came out. But the way these are set up is we have Turtles in Time issues 1 through 4. I believe these all have different writers and different artists. And we have a main issue 38 through 40. That is kind of the prelude to War in the Technodrome. Then we have the TMNT Ghostbusters crossover. This is the first one they did. First 4 issues of that. And then we have issues 41 through 44. So the way that I'm going to format this video is I'm kind of going to go a little bit like different compared to how I usually do this. I'm just going to go section by section. We're going to do the first, we're going to do Turtles in Time. Then after that, we're going to do the first batch of mainline. Then we're going to do the Ghostbusters crossover. Then we're going to do the second batch of mainline issues. So it's kind of being like, it's going to be a little bit like a chunk in this episode. So the first batch of books we're going to talk about is Turtles in Time. And if you look here, they all have different writers here as well as different artists. I'm going to share which one was my favorite and which one was my least favorite here in a second. Turtles in Time #1 shows the Turtles in the Jurassic era. Art done by Sophie Campbell and was written by Paul Allor. I'm going to say something that's a little bit controversial to the TMNT IDW community. I don't like Sophie Campbell's art. I really don't. I think she's a wonderful writer. I love everything she's done for Turtles. I don't like her artwork that much. I think it's a little cartoony and a little overrated. And I understand the hypocrisy in saying that it's cartoony because it's Ninja Turtles. It should look cartoony, but it doesn't resonate with me in like a way that I particularly like. Just not my thing. Not a super great issue either. This issue was more focused on Raphael than the other Turtles, and he's just not he's not a turtle that I particularly care in any capacity. So first issue wasn't really my thing. The second issue was if I remember correctly, it is a Leonardo issue written by, let's see here, Eric Burnham and art by Charles Paul Winston III. I'm going to be honest, this is my least favorite issue if I can get there. Yeah, this is my least favorite issue in the entire miniseries, mainly because of the art. It has my least favorite art in the entire miniseries. I should clarify. It's ugly on purpose, but that doesn't really excuse it or stop it from being ugly. It's not really an excuse. It's really not my thing. The story is neat, where they kind of see Splinter before he was reincarnated as a rat, and they get to meet their mother as well as their, past reincarnations, and an early Shredder before he's sort of corrupted the Foot Clan. The story itself is great, but it's just the actual art really draws it down for me, but it works really well as a Leonardo-focused issue. Following that, we have issue number 3, which is the Michelangelo issue, is written by also Eric Burnham with art by Ben Gates. All right, I'm going to try not to glaze this issue too much, but it's easily my favorite issue in the entire run. Oh, I have passed way too far. Yep, right here. This is easily my favorite issue in the entire run. It's the most fun. It's the Michelangelo focus, and he's my favorite turtle. And just look at the art on this. It's so, almost like parchment paper. I don't know what that specific style of art is called, but it hits, and it resonates with me really well. Look at Krang. Look at how good that looks. It's sort of like a swashbuckling pirate adventure. And it's also, if I can flip to the end here, minor spoilers, I guess, it is also the first appearance of Leatherhead in the IDW series, which I think is pretty dope. So yeah, issue 3 is definitely my favorite out of the Turtles in Time miniseries that they did here. And then lastly, we have issue 4, which by process of elimination is the Donatello issue here. Let me Let me flip back, see who wrote that. Okay, that was also written by Paul Allor, who also did the first issue there with art by Dan Duncan. This one has, I think, the most solid art style in the entire run. It's definitely, I'd say the most consistent, but it's also the most generic in that aspect. It's not really anything spectacular. I would love to see this dude do the main Turtles run. In fact, I think he did a few issues previously in this run. He did the main art for the main series, but it's just kind of okay. It doesn't really add to the story in any real capacity like the other 3 do. This is also the only issue that takes place in the future, and it functions really well as a Donatello story. We get to see future Donatello. It's sort of the closest thing we're going to get to a canon Last Ronin, which I think is pretty neat, and it's also eerily similar in some capacity to the current IDW saga going on right now, written by Jason Aaron, which I think is pretty interesting. I doubt there was any real collaboration there, if this was the plan from the start. I highly doubt that. I just think it's a neat little coincidence. But yeah, this is, I'd say probably, if we're going off of story, it's probably my third favorite out of the entire run, with obviously first being the Michelangelo issue and second being the Japanese Leonardo issue. But in terms of art, it's probably second place, just because I'm just not a huge fan of Sophie Campbell's art. And God, where is it? This art is just, I'm really just not jiving with this. So yeah, that was the Turtles in Time series. That was, or excuse me, not series, I guess mini-series. It was definitely a solid way to start this book, and it's fun. Renette's popping up here and there throughout the story. It's just a fun little mini-series that I don't believe, outside of things like the first appearance of Leatherhead, I don't think it really adds anything to the later on, to the story, to the grand story later on, good lord. But I'm also not caught up on this run, so I guess we'll have to wait and see if this impacts the story in any real way. After that, we have issues 38 through 40, written by, I want to say, Kevin Eastman, Tom Waltz, and that's right, Bobby Curnow on the writing here, with art by Mateus Santalocco, who is hands down my favorite artist for this series. Like, when I think of IDW Ninja Turtles, I think of Mateus Santalocco's art, and this is sort of the prelude to War on the Technodrome. This is a really solid arc. It's what solidified Old Hob as probably one of my favorite characters in this run. We get to see Angel active as Nobody, teaming up with Alapex, which is pretty neat. We get to meet more of the Mighty Mutant Animals. Right here we have Herman the Hermit Crab and Mondo Gecko, who are both so amazing. I love them both so much. And basically what's going on in this arc is Hob and Splinter trying to team up to go take on the Foot Clan and eradicate them as a threat. This was a really funny moment. Pigeon Pete here has been tasked with finding more mutants to recruit for their mutant army. He ends up getting in contact with Bebop and Rocksteady, which is not good because they thought the Turtles were gone. Turns out they're not, and now they know they're back in New York, so they're going to go ambush them, as we find out later. We also get a really funny moment where they're all about to square up, and if I can get there anyways, where's it at? Yeah, right here. Why am I forgetting his name? Old Hob tries recruiting them and says, like, hey, we're all mutants, and then he finds out that they were originally human. I want to say, did I pass it? Yeah, he finds out that they were originally human and just starts shooting at him, because Old Hob's whole thing is that he just really doesn't like humans and is trying to eradicate them, make mutants the dominant people in society, sort of a la Magneto, but not really, because at least Magneto was right anyways. But yeah, that's a really solid 3-issue mini arc that they do. That's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of really hype moments. Definitely stuck with me, especially as a Bebop and Rocksteady story. I had a lot of fun with this. But yeah, moving on to the Ghostbusters crossover. So after that, we have the Ghostbusters crossover, which was written by Eric Burnham and Tom Waltz, with art by Charles Paul Wilson III, and then Corey. Ooh, they had a lot of artists on that first issue right there. I'll just let you read all that. But then, yeah, I think art consistently goes to Dan Schoening there forward, who I believe does the art for the main ongoing Ghostbusters series that was tying into this at the time when this was coming out. I don't think that run is still going, but I had an okay time with this. Crossovers are fun. If I can go, yeah, okay, there we go. Crossovers are fun. This established a lot of lore for the overall mythos of Turtles, like stuff with Kitsune and Rat King. And basically the main plot is that Donatello is working with his scientist friend to work on a teleporter to infiltrate the Technodrome. Something goes wrong, and they get sent to the dimension of the Ghostbusters. And yeah, it's kind of just a fun little crossover. Casey gets possessed, and he's kind of a looming threat throughout the book, so they have to save him. There's also a big time clock before they get stuck in the dimension. You know how these interdimensional crossovers go. They all play very similarly. As a Turtles fan, this was fun. I had a good time with it. As a very casual Ghostbusters fan, as someone who's basically only seen the original movie, I think, this was fun. I mean, they all act decently in character, and the character interactions are fun. But I can't help but feel like if you were a diehard Ghostbusters fan reading this for the Ghostbusters content, this would have been a little bit of a letdown. But as a Turtles fan, I had a good time with this. Definitely just a fun, stupid little mini-series to throw in there, which does end up affecting the overall plot later, I believe. Because we see, why am I forgetting his name? Donatello, and I can't remember his scientist friend's name at the moment, but they're working on the teleporter. And yeah, this is canon to some capacity, which I think is crazy, because the IDW series did a lot of crossovers, like with Power Rangers and Batman, which I don't believe are canon to my knowledge. So I think it's interesting that the Ghostbusters one ended up being canon. After this, we have War on the Technodrome, or at least the 4 issues of War on the Technodrome. I believe that was a 5-issue arc written by the original main team, but if you notice, the art has actually switched from Mateus Santalocco to Corey Smith right there, which is a little interesting, who's also one of my favorite Ninja Turtles artists. I gotta say, this arc alone makes this entire book worth it, because it is so good. You get to see, why am I forgetting his name? Stockman. You get to see Stockman and Metalhead, and if I can go back, Professor Honeycutt, the Fugitoid, and there's so much backstabbing going on. Everyone between the Turtles and the Foot Clan are working together to go stop Krang, but then a separate half of the Turtles not a separate half, Splinter and the Mutanimals are going after the Foot Clan at the same time while they're weakened because they're split apart going after Krang at the Technodrome, and then oh my god, the ending. Let me get to the ending. Okay, this is going to be huge spoilers, and I am honestly pissed off because it worked. I'm pissed off that this is how the book was set up, because it ends on just the meanest cliffhanger. I will say, I don't know if this is my book in particular, but I got some really messed up misprints in here. I want to say there's a really bad one. Okay, right here, this is what I'm freaking talking about. I had an entire line just cut across my entire page here, and it messes with the text box. I don't know if this is just my copy or this is a universal thing amongst the trade paperback of Volume 5, but I'm not super happy about it. It's only across the one issue right here, but it's just still a bummer. Anyways, to go back to what I was talking about with the ending here, there's going to be spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Oh, passed it. Okay, spoilers right here. Donatello freaking dies. Bebop and Rocksteady were keeping watch on him in case the Turtles betrayed the Foot Clan, which they kind of ended up doing, so they just split him in half. It's really gory and really gruesome, but from what I've heard from other IDW Turtles fans, it leads into a really interesting character arc for Donatello. So, yeah, I'm pissed off that they set it up this way, because now I have to go get the next trade paperback to see what happens, which means that they're making more money off of me, which is the entire goal. But yeah, War on the I want to say it's called War on the Technodrome, or am I making that up? Because I feel like I'm making that up. Let me just flip past here really quick. Past it. Attack on the Technodrome. I knew I was getting it wrong. Okay, Attack on the Technodrome, just even having those first 4 out of 5 issues, genuinely makes this entire book worth it. So, overall, would I recommend this? Yes, if you've read the previous 4 volumes, which I have. It's sort of, there's a lot of build-up that leads up to this saga. It's sort of like a 50-issue saga, and there's a lot of build-up to it, and a whole lot of arcs leading up to this. There's a lot of moving parts here that you kind of have to understand, so I would not jump into this, which I don't know why you would be. I don't know why I'm acting like you would. That would be ridiculous, but this is definitely worth the read. If you're not reading IDW Turtles, whether it's the current ongoing by Jason Aaron, or collecting these floppy trade paperbacks released by IDW every couple months, what are you doing? Man, if you're a Turtles fan like I am, this is so good, and I cannot recommend this enough. I'm absolutely in love with this series. If I had to give this a ranking, strictly because I wasn't super impressed with the Ghostbusters crossover and Turtles in Time, I'm going to have to bump it down to, we'll say, oh, this is messed up. We'll say 4 sledgehammers out of 5. If you read this run, you know why that's messed up. But we'll say 4 sledgehammers out of 5, just because Turtles in Time and the Ghostbusters crossover kind of bring this down just a hair, just a little bit, like about that much, I'd say. But yeah, overall, I had a really good time with this. I'm really glad that I read this. But yeah, that's all I have for this week. Stay tuned for next week when I do another review next Wednesday. Let me know what you want to see. And yeah, like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next time.
Also, go follow me on my other socials.